do you haul it?
What do we got here?
It is so good. Little anchors and chains.
Little anchors and chains?
Yes.
Love it.
Surveyor's Rhapsody.
Love it.
Yes, we just saw our good friend Ben Shinneberry and it made us say to ourselves,
We did.
let's use an acres and chainsaw.
I think that's a great idea.
So good. So good. Here we are. Trimble Dimensions 2025
Trimble Dimensions 2025
from beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada.
Beautiful. I mean, the weather's great here in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Fantastic. Actually, a little better than Phoenix right now, I believe.
I believe so. Yes. Yes.
And of course, we're at the Venetian.
Yeah, we are. Great.
This is a beautiful, beautiful place.
Was this 4 years in a row for us?
I believe it is.
Yeah,
I believe it is.
pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, a lot going on here. As always, Trimble, they don't mess around. When they put on a show like this, they don't mess around.
They don't. It's very nice. I think they started to figure us out a little bit because they put us in the corner.
They did. Put baby in the corner.
They put baby in the corner. What I think it is because so many people congregate around our booth area that it became a fire hazard.
It was like a traffic hazard.
So they had to move us, to a place where, a lot of people could hang out.
Yeah. It was either that or hire like a traffic cop.
Yeah, exactly.
So they opted to put us in the corner.
And this was a little cheaper.
Makes perfect sense.
I am going to spin around our camera here, just so everyone can kind of see.
Can you spin it all the way around?
I think I can. Let's see.
I don't know, man.
It'll be a little slow, but I think we can get all the way around.
Really?
Yeah.
Look at that.
See,
There's a tour.
There's our two.
There, look at her. There she is.
Yeah, there.
She's waiting on our first guest.
Yeah, waiting on our first guest.
Look at you.
All right. Yeah, you can see. That's as far as it goes, but that's the general gist. It's kind of looking at our view over there.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing is I love when we come to these events, especially Trimble, and we see so many people that we know.
I mean, it is a lot of people.
People we've connected with at last Trimble Dimensions.
That's our neighbors over there. That's some lady's backpack. Yeah. I got some gear over there. Yeah. Looking pretty good.
Oh, and you snap right back into place.
You can snap right back into place.
You finally got the hang of that thing.
I mean, I'm almost acting like a producer here.
Almost.
What are you excited about for the next few days there, KG?
The beautiful thing is this year has been better than ever already.
It has.
Because they have all of our interviews lined up for us in advance.
Like all we had to do was just show up and everything's already scheduled.
Yep. Even the happy hours.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
so
happy hours are scheduled, dinners are scheduled, all our interviews are scheduled. We know exactly when we need to come and go and where we're supposed to be. I mean, they finally got it figured out that we needed a handler.
I was just going to say, yes, they figured out that a handler is best for us. And we can't thank our handler enough because she's done a phenomenal job getting us lined up. And I don't know, we've got 8 or 9 interviews scheduled for the next 2 days. But I'm just looking forward to reconnecting with people, meeting a bunch of new people, adding value, making friends.
Yes.
The stuff we're just really good at.
What are we going to talk about? What do you think the buzzword of this conference is going to be? I already heard that was kind of the theme from the keynote was a lot of AI, which of course that's what everyone wants to talk about. But
Yep. So
maybe we can maybe we can try to branch out a little bit and get the conversation going, with not just
curling. You want to talk about curling?
I think, maybe we should, maybe AI and curling.
AI and curling. I'm sure it's there. Anyways, well, I mean, hopefully everybody sits back and enjoys these interviews. I'm sure they're going to be amazing.
Yeah. Just about schedule wise, we're going to have interviews starting in about 5 minutes for a solid, couple hours. And then tomorrow, starting at 10 a.m. this time. So 11 Phoenix time, another half a dozen or so interviews and, stay tuned.
Yeah. Hang in there.
Yeah. Sounds good.
All right. Let's do this. All right. Here we go.
We're off.
First one.
I know. Ready and firing.
Yes. Let's get this rolling. Super excited to have this conversation. We've got Cyndee and Adrian with us. Real quick, if you would just give us your name, who you're with and what you do.
Sure. Thanks for coming. So my name is Cyndee Hoagland and I'm the Senior Vice President for the Owner and Public Sector here at Trimble, which is the O in the AECO segment.
Okay. I was wondering about what that O was.
Yeah.
And I'm Adrian, and I'm VP of Product Management for the Owners and Public Sector, so part of Cyndee's leadership team, responsible for the portfolio we offer to our owners for asset lifecycle management.
Okay. Well, tell us about the O a little bit more.
Sure. So we take care of those customers that are in the federal space, federal agencies, state agencies, local government municipalities. Think Department of Public Works, the Department of Transportations, airports across this country, railway across this country, and then what we also call the private owner, and that would be customers that manage data centers, that manage healthcare institutions, that manage higher ed. Okay. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think we've covered it. I think the only one I would add to it is utilities. So many of those organizations have utility departments, water departments, or energy departments. We also provide solutions to address their needs.
Yeah. And those kind of land in the middle, right? They're not quite public, but they're also not private. They're in that little middle land, right? Yeah. Okay.
So
interesting.
Talk about ALM, which is Asset Lifecycle Management.
Sure. So the Trimble Unity Suite is what we refer to as Asset Lifecycle Management. And so what that is a suite of applications that help our public and private owners manage assets and projects, everything from capital planning. So let's take an example of a Department of Transportation, like a Caltrans.
Perfect.
So we help them to manage, how do they manage their budget from a capital planning perspective?
Okay.
We help them to then manage the construction project itself, the project management itself, and then the assets and how do you actually maintain and manage those assets long term. So we provide this great suite of capabilities that are GIS centric in nature that allow you to actually manage your data across all of the phases of the life cycle of a project or an asset.
Okay. And Adrian, tell us about Trimble Unity.
So Trimble Unity is our platform that we deliver those capabilities upon. So it's something we launched last year, and it's brought together all of our capabilities we had within Trimble together, from the capital project management to the enterprise asset management, permitting, with a core platform, Unity underneath, a connected data environment, and Trimble Connect that underpins that. And also then Trimble Unity Field, a mobile solution that works across that entire life cycle, a single mobile solution working in the field, serving all those field users, because many of our users are actually people who work in the field. They're construction people or they're maintenance people who are actually working out in the field.
Okay. And there's got to be artificial intelligence, I'm sure, is playing a role in this somehow.
Yes. I'll cover that. So AI, if you think about our solution, so that Unity platform comes from and builds upon our heritage that is decades old with eBuilder on the construction project management side, with CityWorks on the enterprise asset management side, with Agile Assets on transportation asset management. So we have customers who have decades of data. And what they're coming to us is asking, how can we gather insights from all of that asset history or all that project history? So what we did recently, we had our user conference, our Innovate user conference focused on owners. And there we launched our Trimble Unity AI. So what Trimble Unity AI is doing is unlocking the insights from all of that history, that years or decades of history those customers have, and being able to tell them where their challenges are with their assets, where are their worst performing assets, what should they be doing about addressing those challenges that they're facing. So giving them insights into data that would have taken them a lot of time to actually go and get, and now it's becoming a conversation. So think of it like a conversation with your data, where you can actually start understanding what are the mechanics of what is happening within your business through the insights you can get from your data.
And you said to access things that would normally take a long time. Like, is this even something where some of these insights are coming to light that the municipality would have never even known about?
Absolutely, because it would be such a bar. Because firstly, the people who want the insights are people who are not necessarily technically skilled. So they don't know about databases or how to write SQL queries or things like that you would have had to do before if you're mining the data.
Right.
What they want to do is to be able to ask a natural language question. Why is my asset score in this region worse than my others? Why, what is the asset category that's driving that? So to be able to start asking those questions in a conversational way in natural language. Whereas before they would have had to have somebody prepare a report. They would look at the report. Of course, they're having more questions. Now they've got to go and invite somebody to write.
Yeah.
So the time to do that was really long, the skill set to do that. So what we've done really is, I mean, people talk about democratizing the data with AI, but in a way you're kind of putting it into the hands of the people who want to make those decisions, who are typically people who are not technically skilled with the back end of the system. So you're actually being able to empower the insights into the people who actually want to make those answer those questions.
Interesting.
I'll add one thing to that. So for some of our customers, they have 52,000 miles of lanes that they're trying to manage, hundreds of thousands of signs that they need to track and assets that they need to maintain and manage. And so what we do is we allow them to aggregate that information and to start asking and querying those types of questions that will help and inform them. Where should I be prioritizing out of thousands of signage and hydrants, fire hydrants that have to be managed? What do I maintain first? Where do I service first? So we're trying to kind of free up that information and that data that they have so they can make better, more informed decisions.
Is that like almost the question you would ask? Is you can just ask it, where do I start? If I bought new stop signs, where are they needed the most?
Exactly.
And it'll just tell you, right?
Exactly. So we have some clients in general for the Trimble Unity Suite. We manage about over $1 trillion in capital programs. We manage hundreds of thousands of miles and lanes. And so for our customers to actually be able to go in and say, for the fire hydrants in this particular location in the last 6 months, which ones did we maintain and which ones didn't? What types of customer problems, service requests do we need to do? And to start to have those conversations, it's all about the prompting because the data is actually there.
Right.
And it's helping them to free it up and give them more insights.
Is that what you're finding, that your customers have the data available? They just don't know what to do with it? Like you said, you got 15 years of data sitting there, and you guys the platform can pull it in any form or fashion, just good old fashioned data.
So here's the unique thing about what Trimble put together a few years ago and our vision around asset lifecycle management. So the problem that we're solving for is that 75% of the cost of a bridge when it's constructed is in the operations and the maintenance. It's not in the design and it's not in the construction. It's in managing and maintaining those assets long range for the next 20 or 30 years.
Really?
That's where the cost is. So we have a very asset management focus. And so we look at the asset, everything related to that asset, all the attributes, how long it's been maintained, how it was built, how it was designed. And then we actually provide better insights when you have that type of approach, because we've shown that you can actually reduce that 75% by 40% if you have an asset lifecycle management approach to your assets that you're managing, whether that's universities, whether that's healthcare institutions, whether that's a public works institution or a DOT.
So you're saying in general, waiting for it to break and fixing it is more expensive than actually doing proper maintenance?
It is.
And you have the data to prove it now, right?
It is.
How do you manage the data security and integrity?
So firstly, Trimble Unity is a cloud solution. So we offer it as in the cloud, and we have a whole security development lifecycle around that guarantees the integrity of the solution. And we follow security best practices. We've got a whole team that are involved in operating that hosting environment and making sure that all the security best practices are put in place. So we would provide service level agreements to our customers in terms of the integrity, the security, the robustness of that solution.
I have another question, maybe a little more broader, but is there an advantage, or can you aggregate all of this across all the cities? And when, let's say Las Vegas just seems to spend a lot of money on stop signs, you could say, well, on average in the country, stop signs last this long. Are you able to combine all of the different cities and then have that holistic view?
It's a great question. So Nevada Department of Transportation has their own policies and their regulation of what they're actually following. So do the cities themselves.
Okay.
So at the public works, as well as the cities and municipalities. But what you're seeing once you're able to free the data and the information is that you'll start to see local government and municipalities sharing along with the Department of Transportation. Because at the end of the day, for the community, it's the community that actually benefits. And it's the taxpayers that actually benefit from this at the end of the day.
Interesting. It just seems like it's so more powerful now that you can pull it all in and you can aggregate everything.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very interesting.
Yeah. What are some lessons maybe you guys learned, from this large scale implementation, working with public agencies?
So still within this industry, the challenge has been, and I think you heard this today on stage as well, is data being put into silos. Various departments are collecting various information, but it isn't necessarily making it across the handover. So an architect may design that building or that road. They hand over that model to a contractor who then has to design it, who uses machine control guidance to put that 3D model into. Once that road or that bridge has been designed or constructed, there's a handover of that model back to the owner to then maintain and to manage that going forward. The industry still is challenged with data silos. It's still challenged with data moving all throughout those various phases of construction, but there's no better company in this country to do that than Trimble. We know the data, we understand the data, we understand design, we know pre-construction, we know surveying and mapping. So there's no better company that's able to collect that data, manage that data, and analyze that data, and then be able to construct and then maintain that data better than Trimble.
So you have a solution for all of this fancy stuff to get the project built. And then when it's built, we hand a piece of paper with some markings on it to the owner and say, okay, here you go. It just seems like, we worked backwards at that stage, right?
The industry is coming along. So where surveyors and GIS professionals are coming into play, even more important now is that what they're doing in and out is they're managing those assets. They're collecting that information on the data, the precision of that particular asset. And so they're more important now than ever to make sure that throughout the life cycle of that bridge or that building, that we know the location, and we know the positioning, and we have the accuracy related to that particular asset. And so why is that important? Because in this industry, we're moving to open BIM data standards. We're moving to 3D models. We're moving to digital as-builts. And it's the surveyor and the geospatial professionals that know that industry really well.
Well, and speaking for that industry, we're really excited about the digital delivery of as-builts and carrying that accuracy all the way through.
So if you're looking, say, 5 years into the future, what does the smart infrastructure ecosystem look like? How does ALM and Unity and everything kind of, I guess, frame that? What is that going to look like?
So I think you're going to see open solutions, integrated solutions, workflows that are working across those. So the walled gardens of the past will be gone. Broken down by open standards, workflows that are crossing the different systems. Part of that, what will be arising from that will be agentic AI. So you will see automation of those workflows through agents being able to automate some of the tedious tasks, but also being able to, if you think about the conversation we had earlier about Trimble using AI, that is an agentic, that has been designed to be an agentic solution. So you will have agents like that are able to interact, and the human involved as well. So the human being able to ask the interesting questions, to pose and make the decisions. But you're having automation happening across that life cycle, enabled by the technology, the AI, but also enabled by the open standards and the integration of the solutions across the full lives.
And I think to add to that is that the technology is there. We have the ability to do this. As you asked about digital as-builts, there's also a policy element to this. So you need to make sure that all 50 states are on board in understanding the relevance and the importance of open data standards. The ability for IFC, the need for 3D modeling, and actually the need for what is called a model as a legal document that allows states to actually count on the model, the 3D model itself, as the document of record.
Yeah, that's a big shift, right?
Huge shift.
Do you see that shift in the next 5 years?
I do.
Okay.
That'd be amazing. So is Trimble working, at a governmental level? Okay, interesting.
Yes, Trimble was at the forefront of a program called the Advanced Digital Construction Management Systems. It was a grant program that we helped assist in getting into the 5-year surface transportation bill that was in 2021, which comes up for expiration at September of 2026. And so what we helped to do and champion over the last 6 or 7 years was the importance of allowing DOTs to have grant funding so that they could adopt technology in a more rapid pace so that they could actually be more modernized and more digital than they've had before from a digital project perspective. So Trimble advocated along with many others in the industry in the United States so that we could actually get a program that was a $100 million program that allowed DOTs to apply for grant money to go do a lot of the digital as-built and the 3D modeling that they're doing today.
We'll kind of help jumpstart them into that world. So you guys meet directly with when you say the owners, do you meet directly with municipalities so I have to ask, can you give us an example of what's the big wow moment, or when you said, hey, we can do this, and what's the thing that really catches an owner's attention when you talk about the platform?
Well, most recently, it's the AI. It's the AI capability that has driven huge excitement within the customer base. People saying, when can I get it? How can I get involved in this? Because I've been waiting for this, because there's a recognition within our customer base of the history that they have, the value that's inherent in that, but an inbuilt frustration that they weren't able to take the value out of that. And now what we have done is we've enabled that. We've allowed them to actually capture that value, use it to make the decisions that they need to make good decisions, make informed decisions, timely decisions.
Interesting.
I think we also talk about our ecosystem. You heard Rob today talk about the Trimble ecosystem, and that's the ability of actually getting all of our geospatial survey partners, our contractors involved, our owners involved, and all kind of sharing in the vision of interoperability and openness to access to data. So it takes everyone in the industry to actually work together collaboratively. And that's what the owners are looking for Trimble to do, along with many others.
Okay. Yeah. So, because you're the solution that everyone already uses in some form or fashion, and the most centric, right? I mean, the most people use it across all the different areas.
We are. And even when we're not, we need to be open and interoperable so that we can free up that data to actually be moved around within that asset lifecycle.
Yeah. And it's a huge collaborative effort because it's still garbage in, garbage out, right? If it's the data coming in isn't, good data, what are you going to do?
Well, I think that's another important point, though, because when you think about Trimble's offering, right, and we spoke about getting those insights, exactly your point, garbage in, garbage out. But what Trimble offers is our ability to capture precision data as well, something that feeds into this. So we're not just on the receiving end or on the end of the cycle here in terms of analyzing the data. We're providing solutions that they're using to digitize the process in the first place, to capture that data, authoritative, precise data, and that quality data is what's then feeding into those insights. And so bringing together the power of all you can see here, on the floor here at Trimble, of the different technology, that all comes into play into that data set that is then used for the analysis.
I like it.
It's exciting stuff.
It is exciting. Is there anything else we haven't touched on that you guys want to get out there?
And maybe one thing, your name is Geoholics. So one of the things we spoke about Trimble Unity, one thing I didn't mention was we're GIS centric. We've been, pioneered the term from an asset management perspective. We've been very much driving that GIS view of the world through the asset life cycle. And I think we will also be leading and pioneering the adoption of the BIM technology, 3D modeling technology in with that. So we've innovated across asset management, capital project management, again, for decades, and we're going to continue to do that with the technology we have.
And is that the vision then for that, in that GIS environment, to then say, click on that building and then you go into the BIM model? I mean, it is all in that, all cohesive in that same environment?
Yes, so you'll have interoperability to be able to have those different views, to have the GIS view, to have this BIM view, to have the reality capture. Again, we see in the plenary there that, the 360 view reality capture. being able to actually have those different views, because there's no one view that is going to, be the one view that every user is going to need. They're going to need to be able to bring different aspects of the data depending on the decision that they're trying to make.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, this has been fantastic. Very, very insightful.
Exactly.
Stuff I wasn't even aware of. So that's really, really good. Anything else, Cyndee, before we let you go?
No, I think that Trimble's very focused on being open, interoperable, extensible from our platform, because we believe in allowing our customers to do what they do better, faster, cheaper, and more sustainable than ever before.
Well said. Well, thank you, Cyndee. Thank you, Adrian. Great conversation. Thanks for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
We're happy to be here.
We're happy to be here.
Let's do it again next year.
We will be here. Yeah. Look forward for the next couple of days as well. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Ready, set, go?
Ready, set, go.
All right.
Remember, when I point at you,
Wait, you know what?
it's time to record.
I wasn't looking at you. In the corner of my eye, I see your little nubby finger.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's how we know. All right. It's going to be a great conversation. We've got Eric with us. Eric, if you would, just give us your name, who you're with, and what you do.
All right. My name is Eric Glaves. I am a land surveyor licensed in Washington State. I work for Dave Evans and Associates. I work with you, even though we've never met before.
Yes. We both know the DEA difference, by the way.
Oh, and do you have the 6 ways that DEA is different memorized?
How do you know there's 6? Have you been doing your research?
Maybe.
I couldn't recite them.
Well, no, it's because they're a sponsor of the show. It's my job to know.
Well said. Well said.
So,
super cool. Eric, thanks for being here. This is great.
well, thanks for having me on.
Fellow DEA-er here. It's really, really cool. I think it's just you and I here from David Evans, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. Sean Delphet said, make sure you talk to Eric. I'm like, well, as a matter of fact, we're going to be interviewing him. So
Great.
Perfect. So you're here to tell us about a really cool project that you worked on at David Evans. And my understanding is it's the Ballard locks.
It's the Ballard locks. I mean, the technical name is the Hiram M. Chittenden locks, but that's a mouthful for anyone to say. So most people in Seattle, if you talk to a Seattleite, they're just going to know it as the Ballard locks.
And what was this project? What were you doing?
This project was, actually, it came out of, I believe it was one of our state representatives that was looking at all the funding that was going for different projects across the country and basically said, we're not getting anything here in Washington State. And the reason is there wasn't a whole lot of actual shipping traffic coming through the Ballard locks, although it services 50,000 vessels per year. A lot of pleasure craft, a lot of random boats coming through there, but it's not monetarily, the dollar figure is not high enough to warrant replacement. So there was a big push to help out and renovate the locks, and they got the money. And so they replaced basically the center gate. There's 2 locks at the Ballard locks. There's a big one and a small one. And the large one is 800 feet long, I believe. And there's a center gate in there. Original gates from 1912. And they needed to replace them. Wow. They weighed about 250,000 pounds each. So they called in a heavy marine construction firm, which was our client for this project. The Army Corps of Engineers was basically spearheading this. And we provided survey services for 3 years for about 2 weeks each year. And I call it my 190 over 80 is my high blood pressure 2 weeks out of the year, because it was a very high pressure project.
Yeah. What made it a high pressure project?
First of all, it was the precision required. They were looking for some very, very tight tolerances there. We actually explored the possibility of bringing in a laser tracker for this, because they were throwing around numbers like 1/32 of an inch, 1/64 of an inch to start. Yeah. We ended up taking that off the table, and we basically stretched our gear tolerances to what I would consider their max.
Sure.
So,
I mean, and isn't that a tight tolerance for a marine application, like a marine construction? Like that seems.
It is very much so. And I've dealt with dams before, bridges, structures, that sort of thing, but never locks. It's the first project I've ever done that was an actual locks project. So it was a lot of fun. It was very interesting, but again, very high pressure. So,
and locks move.
They do.
The other things you said aren't supposed to move, so it seems like
right. And the entire the project, they had to work around the closure that they do every single year. Basically, if you go down in there and you look, you see just barnacles everywhere, right? They have volunteers that actually go down and scrape the barnacles off during this closure session. That's when the Corps goes in there and they look and inspect everything there. So you go down in there and you look at the gates and we're like, we're going to be laser scanning these things. There's particles everywhere, but it helped them out with their design. So that was part of the reality capture piece, was laser scanning the gates in place, as well as the equipment rooms on either side.
Yeah. What was the strategy for setting control for a project like that?
I don't want to use the word Hail Mary, but we didn't know exactly how it was going to go. We had a plan to set basically a line of 6 points on either side on the top. We talked about going down and setting points in the bottom, but of course we raised the question like, hey, they're scraping this thing.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, we didn't know if that control would survive. So we ended up resecting from the top. We're talking about looking upwards, I think, or zenith angle was something like 30 degrees or something. We're very, very, very high angle of inclination there. So we set control on the top, and we ended up actually shooting through where the hydraulic arms that control the gates. We had a little window you could see through into the control rooms, which are below ground level on either side. So we closed the loop on both sides. And during this entire time, it was still open to the public. So that was actually one of the biggest challenges, is they can't close it down. A lot of folks actually walk across the dam and the locks to get to work into Seattle that way. Ballard's very, very high traffic area there. So you have folks walking by on bikes, they got walking their dogs. You know, we're trying to move around with laser scanners, levels, total stations, had SX12s out there. It was tricky.
Wow. So talk about the different technologies. You kind of mentioned it there. So conventionally you set the control, and then what did you do? You brought in the laser scanners, and how did all that kind of, come together?
We ended up using the XX12 for the majority of the scanning down in the chamber itself. We also had an X7 that we used that went into the equipment rooms, and then where the actual axis of the gate sits, the top piece where it swings on, it's called the anchorage. We have the two anchorage bars, which allow them to move the top of the gate, level it wherever they want to go. We used the X7 to scan that. And so we had targets out, and we used targets and cloud-to-cloud registration to tie the X7 scans to the SX12 scans. That's how we ended up actually working it. Everything was done in TBC.
So, and was this all updated like real time as you went?
It wasn't updated in real time, but we could at least see what we were getting, because we had the X7 out there. Got perspective. You could see the scan on there. In SX12, you're looking at access. You can see the scans in real time. So we just made sure we got good coverage. Yeah.
So how did you ensure that the data, what was the quality control like? What was the plan as far as making sure the data you were providing was, legit?
Bottom line would be redundancy, and a lot of it. For the control work, we must have turned dozens of sets, and broke setup multiple times to make sure that we locked down the control as much as possible. When it came to the features, because we had a laundry list of features they wanted us to tie in, where the anchorages are at the top of the gate, we had to tie very specific points that the core wanted to see. So we had scans, the data, and then we also had total station observations. And we had, I think at one point we had 2 S7s and 1 SX12, all three at the same time. We were tying the same points.
Oh, wow.
So lots of redundancy.
Yeah, and talk about the safety component of it.
Safety. The nice thing about this project was safety was actually not as big of a concern, at least at the start. We weren't needing to get out on the edge very often, but when we did, they have a whole it's a sliding tension system. So you harness up, and there's just basically a carabiner you clip into, and it's slides up and down the length of the lock. So if you look at some of the pictures of it, you can see the core of the workers out there. That's how they, in the heavy traffic times, they guide the ships through, and they're just attached. They're just running along with this little tether that moves with them on the top.
Yeah.
So, but fortunately, we were able to just walk down the scaffolding, which I'm an office guy, so, I'm not used to walking up and down, that much scaffolding with that much gear anymore. So we just walked up and down, and the equipment rooms were not confined spaces, so fortunately didn't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
And you said you came back every 2 weeks for 3 years?
Actually, it was done. We did 2 weeks every year.
Okay.
It's about this time, actually. I remember last year we were kind of moving into the final phase. This is the third year. So we did wrap it up actually in December of last year. Yeah. About 2 weeks every year.
And then did you see, what did you see when you went back every year?
Oh, after the first year was just data collection. We got a ton of data for that. Second year, they yanked the gates. They actually floated in a barge in the locks, and they removed the gates using divers. This is Manson Construction, one of the oldest firms in Seattle. They were around actually before the locks were built. And they did an amazing job with pulling out these gates. So we came back and they're just gone. So everything was exposed. One of the funny things about that is the base of the gate, what they sit on, is called a pintle base. And if I sound like I know what I'm talking about, it's because when I got this project, I was sitting there reading up on my terminology because I had no idea what this stuff was.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a pintle base is what it sits on. It's basically like a half of a ball bearing. It's about, I don't know, 1.5 feet or so. And that was one of our very critical things we had to measure. So they yanked the gates and we had to measure where the pintle base was. In theory, it should have been directly below where the center of that what they call a gudgeon pin. The gudgeon pin holds the gate in place.
Okay. That's the pin that it swings around.
That's right.
Okay.
So we went to measure the pintle base, and turns out I don't know if they knew this or not. We certainly didn't know it. It was a sliding bottom. So there's just a big metal plate, and it just slid around on that. That's where it was. So it pushed itself off the base when they yanked the gates. And so everyone's like, how do we measure this now? So I've been just basically doing an entire circle around it, because in theory, it would have been centered on that base.
Right.
And we found out that when I generated the best fit center of that circle, it was about 1/8 of an inch different than the gudgeon pin at the top. 1912 engineers.
Wow. That is wild.
See, that's when engineers were engineers, Sean. Back in the day.
Is that a shot or?
So what were like 1 or 2 lessons learned on this project?
I think the big lesson for me was, number one was logistics. Every year it was different. We didn't know exactly when they'd be ready for us to be out there. And, we have phenomenal staff at DEA. Our field crews are second to none. But we had a couple of folks who were more familiar with the project. So we were trying to shift our schedules around to make sure that we got the right people out there to work on there. So that for me, that was a challenge.
Yeah.
The other thing I think was figuring out on the fly how to get the right measurements without being fooled by one of the things that we actually did find, we were cutting retro targets in half so you could put the actual center of the target directly on these forms that we were laying out. And one of the interesting things is when your EDM is half on, half off the reflective target, it will return a distance typically that's correct, but it'll float the vertical a little more.
Oh.
And so we were seeing things jump around a little bit more. And eventually, after doing some research and some testing, figured out that's what was going on there. But we were worried that we were not placing these inserts for the project. I mean, that was very, very, very high pressure for me because I was having to make sure that there was nothing wrong with it.
Well, you mentioned the fact that it was a high pressure project many times. What did you learn about yourself personally working on a project like this?
I learned I should probably not stress out too much about the project because I had a lot of sleepless nights, I think, in there too, when we were in the middle of doing something. It took several days to do these layouts. The layouts were just, I must have checked it 6, 7, 8, 10 times and had someone else check it too, which is good. You need to check things, but
sure.
I think I definitely went a little overboard with that.
Yeah. Hey, you wanted to be sure?
You mentioned, using different types of equipment and, TBC and meshing it all together. Was that the plan going into it? Or did you kind of adapt when you got out there to figure out how to collect all the data?
We actually did not know for sure. The plan was for me anyways. I wanted to try and do it all in TBC. Actually, the main reason was because our reality capture, our scanning team is, again, second to none, but they were busy with some other really large projects at the time, and I did not want to bug them. And because we were not modeling anything for this, because I cannot model. I don't know how to do it, never really learned. Sounds like it'd be really tedious for me. So I just wanted to give them the point cloud like they requested. So going in there, we had all Trimble gear, knowing that I could bring it into TBC, and it turned out that it was just fine. I had to lean on the team a little bit to just make sure I wasn't going about it the wrong way.
Okay.
But yeah, the intention was to get everything in TBC and just crank it all in there. So we did.
So did you have to like get all the hardware calibrated and everything like before you guys started the project?
We did. We had to make sure we got all our certificates up to speed because that's specifically required by the contract. We made sure that we did our field calibration as well. We actually rented an SX12 for that one. And so I had to put it through its paces. I think the night before I was out in the yard and I was sitting there making sure that it was all looking good. My wife was like, come inside, please. It's done, right? I'm like, I think it's calibrated. It's been a long time since I've run the calibration. So, yeah, level had to be pegged, all of that.
All the stuff. Wow, what a really cool experience for you. I mean, professionally, that's, one of those career-defining projects, that you can always look back on and reference.
That was the joke. It was either going to be career-defining or career-ending.
Yeah. It was the thing that made me realize it's not the business for me.
Yeah. Hence all the sleepless nights.
Yeah.
Really good stuff, Eric. Is there anything else you want to get out there about the project in general before we let you go?
I'll just say if anybody's heading out to the Seattle area, if you're looking for places to visit, the Ballard Locks is an amazing place to see. Not only is it has the original historic grounds. Basically, it looks very similar to how it did when they originally built it. There's also a fish ladder there. It's pretty cool to see. You can walk across the dam. You can walk across the lock. You can walk across the gates themselves. There's a walkway out there. So when they're closed, you can just walk over them.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So if you're ever in Seattle, it's a great place to visit, especially if you're kind of an engineering nerd.
Yeah. Free plug, Seattle. Don't get used to it.
Yeah, right.
Well, thanks, Eric. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, great.
Yep, great talking to you.
Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Yeah, thank you. You too.
All right, we're back.
We are back.
Yep.
Fast and furious. Love it.
Afternoon's going to go by so fast. We got them lined up back to back to back to back. It's going to be great. And looking forward to this conversation. We've got Tom and Bob with us. Real quick, guys, if you would, just give us your name, who you're with, what you do. I'll let you go first.
All right. My name is Tom Cardenas. I'm the Senior Vice President at California Surveying and Drafting Supply, CSDS. We are a CANCEL company and been in the geospatial industry for about 24 years now.
24 years.
Okay.
Awesome. Bob, I have a feeling it's been a little bit more than 24 years, but go ahead.
Yes, it is. Yeah, so my name is Bob Berti. I'm the owner of California Construction Control. It's a company I formed in 1981. I've been surveying since I was summer hire starting in 1963.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So,
go ahead.
Yeah, so I found it to be a very rewarding and challenging job and enjoyed it all along.
Yeah. So Tom was talking a little bit before we hopped on here that you've always been kind of like that, always had like that pioneer type spirit. Like you bought into RTK at a really early stage. Talk about that just a little bit. Like how much did your first RTK system cost?
It's been too long ago to remember. Tom might be able to tell me. It was worth every penny, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was precipitated because I was hired by a company. They were rebuilding the railroad yard in Roseville, California. Which is the biggest train yard west of the Mississippi. And so traditionally it would have just began out there and, set up your total station and did the work there. They're remodeling the 6.5 miles long of the railroad yard. But the first day the railroad, they're not operating on your schedule, and they've had a train pull in on the siding and block the backside, and it might be there 10 minutes or 10 days. So it became apparent that you weren't going to do it optically with that. And it was at that time that Trimble started with the 4800s, where the RTK, you didn't have a backpack anymore. The battery was on the rover.
Yep.
And so that's how I got established in that and born out of necessity. And as a result, was able to do that. When the end result of that job there, the train yard was remodeled and brought up to specs, and it's used to this day. They replaced over 600 miles of track in it.
Wow.
So it was a good operation. And then as a result, having the only RTK system in the greater Sacramento area at that time, it led into other work. Black and Veatch, which is a giant civil engineering company that was just when the .com stuff was starting in fiber optics. And so they were looking for somebody to do RTK work in Northern California. So fell into that, one thing into another. The right move at the right time.
Sure. So, Tom, how much do you think he paid for that first 4800 system?
We were probably pushing six figures at the time.
No.
Back then, for everything out the door.
That's
So
awesome.
it was a large investment back in the 90s.
Yeah. So it turned out to be worth it. I always operated on the business of getting the best, not going beyond my means. And so I bought it outright in every case. Well, then it wasn't to where I had to make foolish decisions to buy a job to keep the doors open. I could be choosy on what I had.
Yeah.
As a result, it turned out to be, good work. It was interesting. A sideline on that part was that in that Roseville train yard, I was in 1973. I was taking the land surveyor's exam at this college in Sacramento in their library and felt the window shake. And that was when they had that explosion out in the train yard back there that blew up and destroyed the little town of Antelope and all of that. The munitions train, the Vietnam War was on, the munitions train was coming down and they got the Hot Wheels and set off. A whole munitions train blew up out there. And so the connection then came 25 years later in 98. I was surveying out there again, or this time now, with equipment and technologies that weren't even on the horizon at 25 years before. So it was an interesting connection to put that together, and Trimble encouraged me then to write an article that was published in POB regarding that experience.
Cool.
So one more question before we talk about this really cool project. Like your fellow surveyors at the time when you were buying into this technology early on, were they like, there's crazy Bob.
Were you the kook?
Yeah, there's crazy Bob spending all that money again.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they said under their breath, but it turned out to be the right move.
Yeah.
That it was at the point where the production was so much better. The leap between a transit or a theodolite and a steel tape to a distance meter and then a total station was pretty good sized jump in survey. But the jump then from total stations to GPS was a quantum leap. It was amazing. And because they had the insight into that and it opened up, then Trimble asked me to come down and talk to their group in Sunnyvale, their salesmen and various reps, because it was going to be a point to where survey companies, if you didn't have GPS, you didn't have RTK, you couldn't compete.
Right.
I know that at the outset on that, on a normal day working with the 2-man crew and regular equipment, I would bid jobs construction jobs, if you could set 50 stakes and elevate them in one day. That was just a bundle of lath. In one day, that was a pretty good job. So with RTK and that, you could do that by 10:30. So you could price the jobs the old way because you were competing with guys that didn't have it. But you could
and do 5 of them each day.
That's a great business model.
Yeah, it really is.
That's awesome. All right. So you guys, this Cameron Air Park, let's talk about this project just a little bit. Give us a little background on the survey and kind of what went into it.
or
the problem. What was the problem that was being solved?
Cameron Air Park is an air park, like it says, where you can live in the subdivision with a hangar under your house.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So it appealed to a lot of people that would fly back and forth to Silicon Valley, tech guys. Well, as a result of over the years, the landscaping had matured to the point to where the trees have grown up into FAA's airspace. And so as a result, then the FAA through Caltrans said that you can't have nighttime operations there. Well, this time of the year, especially, guys flying out of Silicon Valley are not going to get home until after dark.
Right.
So it was important for them then to get this restriction removed so they could have nighttime operations again.
Mm-hmm. And so how did you, what was the approach to
So the I was contacted by a fellow pilot who lived in the air park, who was a lawyer. So he was involved in all of this and said, "Hey, this is an issue. Is there something you can do with it?" And so said, "What, with the technology, could probably take care of that and solve the problem." So it was a matter then of going out, securing time on the runway. You had to have radio communication, on the FAA band or the aircraft band, so that if you had somebody coming into land, you'd know about it. But as a result, with GPS located both ends of the runway, and on state planes, so you could geo-reference where it was, and then set up the SX-10 and scanned the horizon around there, all the way around the air park. And then using TBC, built a 3D model of their airspace that you could then insert into the runway. And then with the scanner, it scanned all the trees and buildings that were there. And so now with the TBC surface to the points, could pick out which trees are sticking up in the airspace. And because it was geo-reference, you could take that and put it in Google Earth and show the homeowners, okay, this is your house and this is your tree, and you have to take X amount of the tree off. And they all had the CCNRs in there, all had the aviation easements in them to where they were the big dog. You couldn't complain.
And they couldn't argue with the homeowners couldn't argue with it because
so it was that was visual, that it took the issue out. And so it was amazing how well the SX-10 captured things that were several hundred yards away and picked out enough detail to show even what kind of trees they were, let alone that there was a tree there. So.
And I think the visual too, I think that's a huge element for the homeowners, the property owners in the area. So I think traditionally we think of, taking this data, processing it, and sometimes delivering a product that's only usable by an engineer or construction company or construction manager. But in this case, using all this technology to distill the data down to a Google map and a spreadsheet, and you can hand it off to the homeowner. They can see it digitally where the tree was at on their property and how much they needed to cut it down by. Yeah. So, and that was all pretty much in a day's work in the field, right?
Yeah. Well, a couple of days to do that, mainly because of access, not because of the time, just to get out there and do the GPS work and get that set up and the logistics with the air park, and then come back again. And the points that I collected with GPS then became stations for the SX-10 to do the scanning.
Could you imagine, or would it have been possible to do this project, say, 25 years ago?
I don't know how you would do that. You'd have to go around and measure the base of every tree and then measure how tall it is.
So then, what was the deliverable then? It was like a 2D drawing, 3D model as well?
No 3D model, just the 2D drawing, but looking down in Google Earth. And each house, we had the assessor's parcel number or the address of each of the houses that had an issue with a tree in it.
Yeah, and it's a pretty amazing visual when Bob brought this project and shared it with me, to see basically taking the legal description of the airspace. So you see the scan of the airport, and then you see almost this bowl, which represents the airspace. And then you can see the point clouds where the trees poked up over that surface.
So you can see them just kind of like poking up into
and then in TBC using the point to surface
That's
report
awesome.
to give the distance between that surface of the airspace and the top of that tree. And then to simply convert that into a report for the homeowner to be able to see, and then exporting that job out of TBC into a KML or KMZ for Google Earth, so that the homeowners, instead of handing them a plan and saying, hey, go find this on your property, they can literally click on that in Google Earth and they can see, okay, this tree matches this point on this report and I need to cut it down by 25 feet. Okay,
So have you used the same approach on other projects similar to that one since then?
Not similar to that. There was another airport in the vicinity. There's others that are having that are air parks that have trees growing up from the mature landscaping that the houses have on them. But I didn't do any of those. I'd like to have done it that way. But I use the scanner a lot, between the scanner and the GPS at R12.
Are you starting to find where is that becoming the general tools in the toolbox of every project? You're getting some scan data and GPS and combining them?
A number of things like that would be that way, that I'll ask, first of all, how much tree cover is there? So whether you're going to get good return from GPS, and then want to know how tall the ground cover is. It's mainly the grass. And so now even with TVC has been able to refine more and more so that when you sample it, you can get the trees out, get the grass out, get the noise out, so you still can get the ground pretty well. What's going on there.
Hey, Bob. So GNSS, you had one of the first Trimble RTK, the 4800 systems. So now I believe you're using the R12i. So how much has that improved and evolved since you started until now? And has it taken the place of your total station at all in certain situations?
Yeah, but Tom, we asked the questions here.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Bob,
what Tom said. Yeah.
So very much so that you're using that all the time. If I can do it with GPS, I'm going to do that. You get a fair amount up in the mother lode country of California there where you're looking for corners. And if you can do it with GPS, you're far ahead. And so the advancements then between the 4800, it wasn't very tolerant of tree cover at all. You get path phasing in there. But now the R12i, the programs in it, much better. It's tracking way more satellites now because it's not only the U.S. satellites it's looking at, but it's remarkable how well it does under the tree canopy. And then be into the eye part of the R12 in that you don't necessarily have to have it plumb over a point. Yeah. And if you're up against the shadow of a building or something, you can lean it out and chances are get a good fix on something that you wouldn't normally have been able to do with earlier versions.
Yeah. So to kind of piggyback off of your question, Bob mentioned earlier that it was a quantum leap to go from, a robot to GPS or what's a more recent quantum leap, or what's one that you see in the next 5 years?
Well, Tom probably can answer that better than me because I'm pretty happy with what's there.
Yeah.
They're better engines, better software. Everything that's coming along is being refined to be more sophisticated, more user friendly, more accurate, ways like that.
Yeah. I would say, going back to the conversation earlier about maybe that stigma around GPS when it first came out, it was kind of that black box, that voodoo tool, and there wasn't a lot of confidence. And I know it's improved substantially, and it's improving exponentially as we go. Mm-hmm. But I think the next one is probably unmanned aerial drones. I think right now that still kind of has that stigma of, hey, it's not quite there, but with the evolution of technology and AI and everything else, it's pretty remarkable how far that's coming, how fast it's going, and the type of accuracies you're actually able to achieve with the current platforms. So I think that's the next big step between drones and AI and point cloud processing, data management. The last thing I'll say on that is, what we're seeing here that Trimble's developing in the platform, it's kind of changing the way we approach and that we deliver data. Now, again, I think we're taking a lot of 3D data. We distill it down to these flat 2D maps, and we hand it off to somebody so it's readable. But I think with like the Connect platform and AI, we're kind of bypassing that step, and we're delivering information to our clients that they can actually use in 3D. Yeah. They can use it for inventory, for site conditions, for verification.
It's definitely more end user friendly.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
that's certainly valuable because humans are tactile. We want to touch things. We want to get our hands on it. And so surveyors, the nature of them is that the show me group. I started surveying when it was a dumpy level and a Philadelphia rod.
Yep.
And so when the first Zeiss levels came out, automatic levels and linker rods, it took a while to win people over. But once surveyors get won over, then they become evangelists that they advocate for it.
It takes a while, but once it happens, it's, it's all in.
Or they're really stubborn. They just want to keep it all to themselves.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, it's just the part of like what Tom mentioned, that you have all this 3D data and then all we're doing is just trying to distill it down and down and down until its simplest form. It just seems like there's something that there's a better way to deliver it.
Yeah. Really good stuff, guys. Is there anything else you want to get out there before we let you go?
I always refer to Bob. I've known him for 20 years now. A great friend and customer as long as I've been in the geospatial industry. But, I think a lot of things we do in life is a big wager, especially in business. And I think Bob took a big wager early on, and it's really created this life and this career for him by embracing the technology, really leveraging it to be more competitive and to have a thriving business. And so I guess creating awareness around the opportunities in the geospatial and surveying industry. I think getting somebody like Bob's story out there to the next generation and saying, hey, look at the opportunities that you have, especially nowadays where, the technology is more accepted, and it's a lot more, it's getting more and more interesting every day. So I think that's.
Yeah, no, that's really well said. And, Bob, I'd love to ask you, you've been doing this for a little while. Like what would you tell somebody who's considering getting into the land surveying profession?
Well, I would advocate for that, with young people, especially to see the graying of the trade or the profession. Most of the guys that are my age are gone, and there's a certain gap in there of persons who, are looking at a trade or looking at a profession, and they get caught up in the learning curve to get into surveying. And so they go look in other areas. But by far, it's been a great profession to have. I raised 4 kids. My wife never had to work. We were able to enjoy and have a comfortable living. And I encourage young guys to do that. The nature of surveying like that, you can go from very, very accurate, something down to a pencil line in width, or the nearest foot on the next job. And you have a sense of worth when you see the sense of accomplishment that maybe you start out with an open field, and when you're done, because of what you wrote on some stakes, all of a sudden there's a building or a project, a school or whatever, that come out of the ground. You have that certain sense of accomplishment that has its own rewards as well.
Well said.
Well said. I love that. Well, guys, thank you for your time. Been a great conversation. Great meeting you.
Likewise.
Yep. Have a good rest of the show.
Yep.
Look forward.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks much.
Really excited to have this conversation.
I am.
This is a hot topic these days.
It is. Yeah. I'm interested in diving in here.
According to one of our guests, he's been doing it for like 28 years.
We got to hear more about that.
Maybe it's not that new, but it sure seems to be. Real quick, Karl, just give us your name, who you're with, and what you do.
My name is Karl Bradshaw. I'm with Trimble, and I'm the director for product management and
Reality Capture Group.
Okay.
And Arnaud?
Hello, I'm Arnaud Lezennec. I'm from France. I've been with Trimble today for 28 years, and I've been doing scanning for 28 years.
28 years scanning.
It doesn't look old anymore, does it?
What scanner were you using 28 years ago?
So the scanner was called a Swazik scanner. It was started in 1992 in France. It was first developed to make scanning to nuclear facility. Those very dangerous area. You can't stay too long. So we developed that scanner in 1992, and I started in 1997. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's first define what reality capture is.
Yes, thank you.
Let's do that. Because you hear reality capture all the time, but what is it exactly?
No, something I like to say, because we did a meeting, so like, a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Yep.
And reality capture is worth 1,000 pictures, basically. Can we tell a story first? You really collect the environment, the shape and point cloud, and from this you can really go anywhere you want, basically. Kind of my definition.
Yeah. Yes. Would you like to add to that?
Yeah. So
That works for you as well.
You can say the opposite.
Yeah. So talk about the evolution of reality capture then. I mean, you're talking about scanning 28 years ago, but when did like reality capture become a thing?
Yeah, I think people have got into scanning 2010, really, the evolution of the tripod scanner back in 2010, 2011. People wanting point clouds. And then it's kind of grown from there. They don't just want a point cloud nowadays. People want the reality and they want to capture it. So it's not just about point clouds, it's images as well. It's all that context that people want. And that can stem from anything being a picture to a full-blown 3D reconstruction. So, it encompasses many different formats. And if you walk around this exhibition today, many people have probably got a different opinion of what reality capture is. But fundamentally, you're walking in it and it's building up 3D models of environment you're in, whether you're inside a building, outside down the street. Yeah, it's providing that context to the surveyor, to the building construction professional in terms of you're not just getting that one point. So it's all geo-referenced, all there, and nowadays in the palm of your hand in terms of the devices.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the biggest things. You mentioned it being geo-referenced. I think that's a huge component.
Well, you would say that because you're a surveyor.
Would you agree, Arnaud?
No. What I mean by that is, really, in the past, surveyors were afraid of 3D scanner because you don't need to level and people were scared, oh, what is that? I can't really plug that. The evolution meant that the scanner are adopted by surveyors more like the toolbox now. But still, it's also, we discover every day like new application where scanning reality capture can have a big impact. People sometimes don't know what they don't know. And we do lots of, like exhibition for utilities or other events. And people discover that reality capture could be very useful for them and change the way they actually work today. And that's why it's very interesting. We see broad spectrum, actually. But surveyors, for sure, yes, your friends is very important.
Yeah. See,
All right. He fixed it. All right.
I'm from Trimble. I have no choice.
There it is.
Maybe not. So the democratization of reality capture, what is meant by that statement?
It's giving the accessibility to many different people. So you may have heard in the keynote this morning around kind of connect, and what we're doing with that, it's making this the data accessible to more people. So instead of it being just that surveyor or the engineer who's got a PhD and has studied for years and years and years, nothing wrong with that. We've all been there, but it's giving the other people in the industry who want to connect and dial into that data access to it. So again, that could be anything from the technician going out on site wanting to know where he needs to set his in America layout in terms of his points, things like that. It could be different facets of the same organization who want to take on different applications with that data set, collect one, choose many scenarios. So it's giving access to people who need to have the data. They're not necessarily engineers, they're not necessarily surveyors, but they want access to that data. And again, we're all in this digital world that we live in. We're all on our phones. There's an amount of survey engineering data that goes into all those applications that we use on a day-to-day basis. Just that.
Anything to add there?
Yeah, he's right, of course. But also, I think I saw from the evolution like the trust. Now people trust reality capture. When I started, people, every time you do a measurement, they take a tape to check the size of the window. No one trusted what it was. And democratization is also because manufacturers will make the solution easier to use too. So the adoption is easy. When we launched the X7, I was blown away to be able to reach the scan with doing nothing. But at the same time, I love to say to surveyors that you do if they do the organic measurement, like high quality measurement, because it's not because you can use a device that you're good at it. You always have to respect the fundamentals and also always not forget what the end result is. I think also key for that.
So like the limitations of it,
exactly,
right? Yeah. Cause we're talking about that, you can collect scan data with your phone,
exactly.
Right? Or you can have a really high end, piece of hardware. Is there a space for all those or different technologies to come together?
I think so, because I think really when I'm in sales and I always talk, I think the important point for us is always to know what is the expected end result and then go backwards. I went sometime to a nuclear facility and people want something, and then you come with the full arsenal. We talk about device and everything, drones, you name it. But then if you really listen to them and know what is the final expectation, then you can pick the right solution, the right workflow and so on. So there is room. It depends. Sometimes inspect a small area, a big surface and so on. I think the main thing is to listen to the needs and then
clarify expectations and then figure out the best way to get there is what I'm hearing. Yeah. Is the metaverse still a thing, or was that like a
keep asking people about? I think that's done
because it's like, reality capture, digital twins, metaverse. What happened to the metaverse?
Well, I think that we were talking about all those things at the same time, like 5 years ago, and some things don't really last. And reality capture is one of those things that was just continuing to evolve. That's my take. And so on that topic, where do everyone scans now, so we're here. What's the next evolution in the reality capture world?
I think it's very much the cloud and being able to share that data. So again, from your point, everyone's scanning. Everyone's wanting to collect the data, but it's how they want to ingest that data.
I still can't see a point cloud, or I still can't.
Exactly. And to a certain extent, people don't want the point cloud.
Right.
It's a means to an end.
Yeah.
But they need the accuracy and the performance that you get from a point cloud. But that's part of the process to get to that end deliverable. So people want a bin or georeferenced image or whatever it may be, but they need that context behind it in order to provide the accuracies that they need. So, yeah.
I think it's the geo-referenced image. It's like you start with that picture and then a whole bunch of fancy stuff happens and then you come back to that same picture, but it's geo-referenced and accurate and has that same level, right?
Yeah. Well, some people will argue that we're living in a simulation. So maybe this whole thing is just a point cloud.
Oh, we don't have time for that on this. That's a whole sidetrack.
So what role is AI playing in reality capture?
It's a growing role. I think it's helping us to get to that deliverable quicker.
Okay.
And reduce the time to that final deliverable for our customers and the industry at large. People want there's more and more projects out there in terms of applications, and people want to get to that end result quicker. They want to be able to deliver the field data to the finish as quickly as possible, because that's when they want to get their paycheck, go on to the next job. The quicker you can do it, to the levels of accuracy. So it's providing, I'd say it's the next step. So we've come from with the point clouds we talked about earlier, and it's going into that next generation. How can we then get to those deliverables quicker? But more importantly, with the correct accuracy and performance. So we're going away from that kind of black box. People have to trust it, to what Arnaud was saying earlier. Mm-hmm. You've got to be able to understand that clicking on the button, the accuracies are getting expected.
And actually, because I started a long time ago, it's really changing our life, AI, because the most critical aspect of scanning before was to do segmentation, classification. It was taking ages to scan a road, try to eliminate all those bad points. It was taking ages. It was never perfect. Today, by the click of a button, you train the AI to recognize a shape. And that's it. It's really changed your life. And the time saving is phenomenal. Really, really phenomenal.
Well, I have to ask, kind of flipping on that, what you're saying. If we're still in that black box model where people don't necessarily truly trust it, do you think that the AI component of making it easier to, classify and produce a usable image, do you think that is hindering that trust? Because are we just making a bigger black box?
It comes back to education. So what Arnaud was saying earlier about people in the scanning world and surveyors not wanting to kind of get on board with scanning back in the early days. They didn't understand the principles and the concepts behind it. There's still people nowadays who want a 2D topographical survey drawing as a deliverable. Right. As on an AOA1 sheet, what we were doing 20, 25, 30 years ago. That's still prevalent in the industry. But we've got to move on from it. the projects that we're doing. So again, it's a similar base where we're learning, we're educating with the deep learning models, and we're building on those. They're not all perfect. None of the things that we all do, we heard from the keynote this morning regards kind of the rip things out and start things again. That's just the nature of life. But we're learning and educating these models and these applications and growing and moving those forward. And it's only going to improve. It's only going to improve as the components and the technology evolve over time. We're seeing it now. Again, looking back 20 years ago, we had mobile phones. What we could do then, or what you couldn't do then, that you can do now.
Yeah. So what is Trimble doing to ensure this, seamless integration from, the capture in the field to the designers?
So from our point of view, we're looking at the whole field to finish concept in terms of that ecosystem and getting all the data in there using our technology. It's not limited to our technology. We understand that from a hardware point of view, people have choices in the market, but it's making sure that we can ingest that data and provide the deliverables as quickly and as accurately as possible. Our core values are built around accuracy and precision. That will never go away. That will always be the case. So from our point of view, it's making sure that we can bring that data in, ingest it, and then provide the deliverables that the customer wants. They're evolving as well. Some still want that 2D paper drawing, but others want more and more deliverables. So it's building on top of that as we move forward, as we learn, as we listen to the customers. There's such an event here, and we'll go back home, build on those, and go again, and then do that again, and do that again. So yeah, keep educating.
Keep educating people. I like that. So what about the future? What do you guys see in 5 years from now when it comes to reality capture? What's it going to look like?
I'll be retired.
No, you will.
Yeah, somebody else's problem.
Do you want to go or shall I go? Yeah, now you're retired. Okay.
He's retired.
I think we're on an upward trajectory in terms of the technology and people wanting to get to that delivery quicker. Reducing, again, from a scanning point of view, generally speaking, in reality capture, we've reduced the time on site to shorter times than it used to be as a traditional surveyor, walking around the top stations and so on and so forth. And that's had its trade. Time in the office has obviously gone up, so we've switched it.
Right.
That time in the office now is kind of where that's the bottleneck. Exactly. Yeah, that's the bottleneck. And how do we reduce that? How do we shrink that time down so that, again, still getting the accuracy, still getting the precisions and so on and so forth, but getting to those deliverables as quickly as possible. So I think that's where the kind of where we are in 5 years' time question is will change, but go on. Yeah.
And also, I will not be retired, but I think we can also say that from what I see attending all those exhibitions, we start to touch people we didn't touch in the past. Like new application, new markets. When you look, if you step back, look outside, and then you can really target new people. And when we talk to people, it's really kind of obvious.
Yeah.
And I think in 5 years' time, we'll be even more democratized, not just for, I cannot say not just for surveyors, but for many different type of professionals. Really my feeling is what we see when we talk with those customers.
Yeah.
More and more.
Yeah. And to that point, Arnaud, I was going to ask, you mentioned the use case of the nuclear plant. Yeah. Like that seems like an obvious one. Very highly technical and, space and safety and all that. Do you have another use case where an industry has used reality capture that is maybe we didn't think it would be there?
I think the best example I can use is my first project because it's still valid today. I told you we developed those scanners to scan into nuclear facility, and then the goal was to do some texture mapping. So people, when they have to intervene once every 6 months, they could recognize the environment. And then what we did, a few months after, we went to a cave called Kosker Cave in France. It's below the sea. So you can't access to it. You can't see it. And the goal was to scan it, to texture map it, do like a virtual construction, but for heritage purpose, not for nuclear purpose. So it was really the opposite spectrum from nuclear facility to a prehistorical cave, basically. That's why I think it can be very, very broad.
Yeah, that's almost like very advanced technology to no technology. Exactly. I mean, we're talking about just something that's been there before any of us were even a thought, and then that's pretty interesting.
Definitely. Really good conversation. Is there something that we haven't mentioned that you want to get out there, Karl?
I think from our point of view, it's just the the evolution of that technology. More and more people using the systems. And to Arnaud's point, kind of, we like to see the different use cases. Again, from a mobile mapping point of view, you traditionally think driving down a highway.
Right.
That's it. No, you'll see in here today, okay, we've got on a NASCAR truck, but we've also got a little side-by-side. So again, you can take these systems off-road, you can connect these systems together in terms of reality capture. There's different sensors and different solutions. And there's many more applications for these types of this type of technology than we know about today. So for me, it's try it. If you haven't taken up reality scanning or reality capture in terms of devices, get into it, enjoy it, embrace it.
Embrace it. It's so important. Arnaud, you got the final word.
Oh, really? Okay,
Before you retire.
Good in French.
Oui.
No, really, I really see like the adoption, and like if you never saw a point cloud, please have a look. You will never forget that first feeling. For me, I never forgot the first time I saw a point cloud. You know, you face a castle and suddenly you can see the castle in the palm of your hand. You can rotate it and then go from there. But it's really, it's amazing. Yeah.
Awesome. Good stuff, guys. Really appreciate your time. Great to meet you.
Absolutely.
Enjoy.
What a first day.
Yeah. Awesome.
Been
awesome
killing
day.
it today.
Yeah, we really have.
It sure makes it easy when all of your guests are lined out for you.
Yeah.
Scheduled.
I really can get the hang of that.
Yes. Like you said, we need a handler. No doubt about it. It seems to work in our favor. All right. We've got Stephanie and Andreas with us. Stephanie, if you would real quick, just name who you're with and what you do.
Awesome. Hey, everyone. My name's Stephanie Michaud. I'm director of our product management team, specifically for field software within Field Systems with Trimble.
With Trimble. Perfect. Andreas?
Yeah, my name is Andreas. I'm responsible within Trimble for two parts. One is track survey and scanning business. That's a little bit a niche market. And since 1.5 years, I'm responsible for the cloud strategy within geospatial.
Okay. So how do your two roles overlap?
Well, I mean, if you have data in the field and then it needs to go somewhere else, it's going to go through the cloud if you're not using a USB stick, which we're trying to increasingly encourage people to move away from and using cloud-based ways of moving your data.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and we take the data and then we see what we can do with the data and share it with all the participants in the project.
Okay. So what has changed since the last time we talked? Like what advancements or evolution has happened when it comes to managing this data?
Yeah, I mean, when we think about like the functionality you can have in the field now, I mean, of course, we're always working to bring more integrity and fidelity to the data you have in the field, but in the form of using 3D models and actually being able to interact with that. And so with the refresh we just did in our controller portfolio, now you also have the processing power to work and leverage those models. But, you know, you don't also, if the information stays in the field, then you don't get to the part of actually creating deliverables. And so now we're at the point where we've got the power with the devices in the field. We have capability to work with very complicated data in the field, but we need to send it back to the office too for deliverable creation. So we're at a point where surveyors are really having to evolve from not just doing the surveying and data capture, but to really being data organizers and managers. So we're giving them that power to do so in the field and make more decisions.
Quick question. Do you think surveyors are capable of being data managers and data processors?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Just curious.
Don't fall for that. Don't fall.
Key to this game.
So, Andreas, talk about just the importance of streamlining these workflows and how it affects, your side of the house and, the folks you work with.
Yeah. I just to complete what Stephanie said, I think what significantly changed was the acceptance of cloud solutions nowadays. So the CDE, the Common Data Environment, becomes a central component of every project. So the companies have now one platform where they can safely and accessible bring the data together. And that's where the field part comes into the game, that we in both directions. So first of all, we have a central point for all the design data which goes into the field. So a single point of truth, that's a key component here.
Really critical, yeah.
And we take the data back from the field so that we also have the data which are just collected, live streamed into the cloud and gets accessible for all participants in a project.
So you mentioned another acronym, CDE. Talk about that. Just expand on that just a little bit more.
Andreas?
Yeah, I can take this. It comes from the earlier days from, let's say, from the buildings industry, when it's really about have one place where you store and share the data, where you get this one single truth that you have a design, and you want to make sure that this design is used by everybody on the construction site. That's not the one is using version 1, next is version 2, and probably then after you finish the first part, you go back with a older release of the design. This cannot happen if you have a CDE in place in the right configuration.
Yeah. One of the challenges that we hear from field crews is just that the uncertainty, they might show up on a field and be like, do I have the most current data for this project? And so having a CDE means that you're able to know with certainty that you have the right data for that day. And if it changes, you will get the update of when that's changing too.
So what role does Trimble Connect play in?
I mean, really connecting.
It just connects everything together, right?
As the name implies.
Yeah.
Connects.
As the name implies, exactly.
Everything together. Gotcha. Yeah.
So what are some of the challenges with getting all of those people to adopt into this model of one CDE and everyone uses it?
That's difficult to say because it's already executed and accepted. It's more a project decision. So if you have a project and you are the owner of the project, you decide that it will get used.
Okay.
And of course, you have, as it is always with newer technology, the adoption needs to go through the industry, takes a while. But what we clearly can see that the benefit becomes so visible that the acceptance increases rapidly.
Where do you think we are in that evolution of people adopting?
Depends on where in the world you're looking at this. It started, I would say, in the Nordic countries.
Okay.
So from an international footprint, and it started in the buildings industry first because it's a little bit easier to handle. It's from the geometry, it's easier. And it moves now more and more into the infrastructure industry as well, and in other parts of the world.
Yeah. And I think a challenge too is just organizationally, right? Like we hear from some of our customers who are like, okay, on a project level, I want to have this level of control, but then on an enterprise, I want to have different settings or control. And so depending on how you run your business, you may choose to do it from an enterprise or from a project level. But regardless, it's the business adapting to how much standardization do they want to have? How much also flexibility do you want to have for people in the field? So I think there's a lot of, I mean, it's really, we try and give flexibility for both sides of the spectrum.
And that's a little bit also the challenge that the larger companies are adopting earlier. The smaller ones are usually a little bit behind.
So do you have like any, do you have any like real world statistics, like companies that are utilizing this to its fullest extent are experiencing this kind of return on investment of some sort?
So I don't have statistics in a way that I can tell you what percentage of companies are using how many projects is using. We know that I think more than 45 million of registered users we have on Connect, which is really a massive amount. And I think we are talking about 1 million per month really actively using the system.
That's kind of sad though, right? It's kind of sad because how many million did you say? Like,
more than 45 million registered users.
Only 1 million are using it actively. Yeah. That's a shame because it has so much to offer. Like, how do you engage these other 43 million users?
Well, what's the expectation is maybe some of them aren't everyday users and maybe they only need access for, one project or to pop in and make sure, we have the latest and greatest.
Think about a typical project where you have the ones using it every day on a project. And then you have authorities or project owners, which look on this maybe every second month or seldom, but they are active. For us, they are also active Connect users. So therefore, the number is really promising.
Yeah. So what's a good use case, I guess, like a typical project? What does that look like if everybody is using Trimble Connect?
And I think that if you think about when you're setting up your project, you have you're setting up your coordinate system, your user permissions, if there's existing control files, if you're bringing in a model to work with, you're bringing all this data and you're setting up your project and determining who has what level of access and permissions in the field. And so one of the things that we see a lot with Trimble Access is that, and some of the changes we made just recently in the product are enabling you to bring all of those standard settings when you open that job on your controller, right? So really trying to make sure that you don't have to think about it too much. If you've been assigned that project, everything comes down. It's up to date. You have all the information that you need as well to get started really quickly. And so that's really trying to limit the time it takes to get started on your job.
And is that how you've seen surveyors be more productive in the field? It's like they're not running in between points and in the data collection part, but is it just all that setup and understanding of what they need?
Yeah, and it's also understanding and knowing, like, once you've actually completed the work that needed to be done for the day. So often there's a lot of iterations between field and office, and so by having this visibility, when you leave and you finish your job for the day, you have that confidence that you captured what you needed to actually have that job well done.
Just one comment here is you reduce the errors. So when you go in the field, have the right coordinate system already set, when you have the right feature code list with you because it's defined in the project, and you have your job prepared in the field, that reduces the amount of errors.
And I'm sure the amount of what do you call them when we have to go back the next day because they forgot to pick up something or they did something wrong and the client's not paying for it, but we still have to go back to the site. I'm sure those instances go way down.
The rework is, no one wants to have to spend extra time moonlighting in the evening, like trying to make up for time that, you really could have done moving on to your next job, right? So we're really trying to get to the point where there's visibility when it's completed, but then also getting to that deliverable faster so you can get that moving on to the next job.
That's a nice feature. What we have in the field data extension today is that you get immediate visibility of what you have measured. So a survey manager in the office can see what is measured today and can control the work in the field. It's
not sitting on, like you said, the USB stick that next week you'll get around to getting that in and figuring out what was done. It's in real time, right?
Yeah. So it's also just like really practical things too, right? Like when we look at like the amount of data you think of on a controller that you could have from multiple jobs or project sites, over the weeks and months, that adds up. So also being able to, when you officially close a job and, you're able to look at, okay, let's archive those files. They're still there in Connect, but, you don't have to have them all on your device, so freeing up space for you to move on. And also, so you're not scrolling and searching endlessly for the right piece.
Yeah. So, and like, we've talked a lot today about digital twins and reality capture and that type thing. So like Trimble Connect brings this all together to the point where it's almost like a living, breathing asset, right?
Yeah, absolutely. What we're looking in your project data, we don't want to have it be separate for your survey data, your reality capture data, your GIS data. It should be one location where you can see all of that. So regardless of what product or sensor you use to capture that, it's located in the same place in Connect.
Yeah, that's something you can do over the whole lifetime of a project. So we have the whole history, the whole bandwidth of information in the whole project. So it goes also into the maintenance and operational phase. It does not end at the
end of construction.
Yeah.
Interesting. So where's this going? Are we all, where are you guys at in this cycle? Just trying to get more and more users and more adopters and make this universal? Or is there another iteration next that's going to make it even better?
Oh, definitely. From my side, looking at field software, right, we have a lot of different products that do different specific jobs for different customer types. And so I want to make sure that no matter if you're a Trimble customer, regardless of your field software product, your data goes into the same place and is interoperable across those different products.
I want that too.
Yeah. Every time when I talk to customers, they're like, it's Trimble, it should just work. And so that's my mission on the field side is that, if you're doing a scan in perspective, if you have your control files and access, you should be able to move those back and forth.
How do you protect like the data security and the integrity of the data? How do you guys protect that?
So first of all, with having this in a cloud environment, you can establish a quite safe environment around this. So we are using Azure and AWS cloud technology with all the core technology behind this. So when you upload a new version of a file, you automatically store and tag the old. So you always know exactly when which file was uploaded and by whom it was uploaded. So this integrity is the key component of a CDE.
Interesting. You got something there?
No,
Are you pondering?
No, I'm pondering, but go ahead.
So let's look ahead 5 years from now. You know, how do you guys envision the balance between automation, cloud collaboration, and the human component of the entire process? What do you think that's going to look like?
I think I go back to, your comment. Do you think surveyors are ready to be more data organizers? And I think absolutely. They also need the bandwidth to be able to do that. And so when I think about like deliverable creation, some of those, like I think in the keynote we had this morning talking about like how can we repetitive tasks, is there a way that we can automate those just to free up bandwidth so that the people can do different tasks like data management?
Well, yeah, that's the last thing I would think I want to do at the end of a long day of, okay, now I got to get my files organized. And that's probably what the kind of the problem is, right? But if it doesn't take as long, then there you go.
Yeah. And from the cloud side, we definitely want to provide tools to analyze the data in a better way. So we just recently released the capability when you ingest point cloud data that they automatically get classified using AI. So that's really helpful because you get much quicker to your result. If you just by click, I only need the ground because I need a volume information. One click, no manual work anymore. And that's where I see really, okay, AI, everybody's talking about AI, okay. But our job is here really to make it usable for our customers. So in the whole workflow, it's not just because we want to talk about AI, it's really to get the functionality behind this. And that goes all over. That goes into the field, that goes into the cloud and the office.
Fantastic.
One last question. What do you think the hurdles are, or what surveyors are classically stubborn? Let's just say it. And I'm sure you've been, as you talk to people, they say, yeah, that sounds good. But like, what do you think those hurdles, what do you have to overcome to get everyone to adopt in this space?
First of all, you're right. I would also say that a traditional surveyor is very conservative. So it needs really to take them on the journey.
Okay.
And help them. I think Stephanie with the field systems, she's in a good position because they need definitely her software in the field.
Right.
For the cloud, but it's often a little bit more challenging, and we have some of resistance, but the people are really critical about using cloud solutions depending on where and how it's used. And this is something where we have to work towards that we get this accepted.
Yeah, we rely on surveyors to perform a really essential role of like the source of truth for the foundation of a lot of our infrastructure, right? And I highly respect the profession for the role it plays in the building of our world. And so, when we release this functionality, the team as a whole is really looking to make sure that we can continue to build that trust in that we understand the severity of the role that they're playing, and how the cornerstone of that part of building the next level of our infrastructure. And so for me, I think when we introduce something, it's got to be bomb proof.
Good point. Yeah.
I'm not going to put something out there that is going to be buggy or half complete, right? And so, because if you only get one chance to make a good first impression,
right.
And if someone's willing to finally take and try something new, it's got to be the right fit. So we spend a lot of time working with beta, with customers to make sure that we're getting it right when it comes out.
And what helps us a lot is the younger generation. They push us.
Oh yeah, because they're easier adopters, I'm sure. Yeah.
I just want to point out, she referred to surveyors as the source of truth.
I heard it. I didn't disagree.
Just pointing that out.
She also knows where her bread is buttered, you know?
It does. What else? You guys got anything else you want to get out there? We covered a lot. It was great.
No, that was, I think, a good overview about what we are doing.
Yeah.
Of course, we can go further to the left and to the right. I can extend the cloud to the design phase, where it starts usually with, and even the surveyor is there even before. Because without a coordinate system, I would not like to start a project.
Right.
And it's often also the last one when it's about the final as built. So it's a wide coverage. What we
if people are curious and they want to dive in more, how can they find out more info?
Of course, through our website. But I mean, what I will point you to, we are doing a lot more work in video media as well on new features. So our help portal also links a lot of those things together. So if you're looking for more information, we also have a lot of great sessions here this week too.
Awesome. Cool. Well said. Great to meet you.
Yeah.
Great seeing you again.
Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks.